Welcome to another episode of Kerbal Space Program Addicts Anonymous. This is episode 7, The Green Cheese Run. Bob Kerman is about ready to become the only Kerbin to, well, not the only. We've had 2 that landed on the moon, but this will be the first Kerbin to reach out even further and land on the captured asteroid that is the moon Minmus. Minmus is green. It has lots of tall ridges and mountains and a ice field of green subsistence. Substance? I don't know. Sustenance, substance. It must be feeding somebody, right? Well, we don't know that. So Bob is going up there on a mission that Bill was supposed to have. But Bill had to go save Jebediah's rear end in the last episode because Jeb ran out of gas. Bad planning there, huh? But that mission was successful. This one, however, may not be, or it might be. You'll have to watch until the end. The first mistake I make here is a bad burn. And although I don't like to do it, I was very tired and I wound up just going back to a quick save, and I shouldn't have. But I did, just so I can give you a much better version of this long, long trip. Now, it's actually a very short trip. All in all, this video should go about 27 minutes. So here's Bob making the first burn that we had to go and kill. Why? Because Bob pushed past Minmus, and it was kind of like he wasn't going to make the intercept. The reason for that was that we started the burn 15 seconds late, and on a 1.5-minute burn, it wasn't going to make it. I'm sure I could have fixed it. I just didn't have the time. So there we go. We went back to the quick save. And here we go. We're going to start planning our inclination change so we can match the inclination of Minmus. And as soon as that's done, we'll start plotting our intercept. Now, what I planned for this one was to go into a slightly or highly inclined orbit. Not exactly polar, not exactly equatorial, somewhere in between an inclined orbit. The reason for that is I thought I'd get a couple of biomes, but the mission ran a little bit late, so I wound up bringing Bob all the way back after we took off of the moon, off of Minmus, I mean. So what we're doing here is doing our inclination change, and it went very well. And then I'm going to try to catch that intercept and make it so I can have a somewhat inclined orbit. Thankfully, I am very successful in doing this. Almost too successful. As soon as I get my intercept and I cut it down to about 10,000 meters, I just go ahead and start burning. I think that's it. That should be the one. Yep. So, we're going to play with Time Warp right after this. Oh, he went past it. That's right, I did mess it up a little bit, so we're going to start over. We're going to get it, there we go, and now we're going to, yep. Come on. Sorry, everybody. This is one of those things where, even with 4X, it's not very fun to watch. Alright, so we get the inclination change done, we get the intercept done, and all we have to do after this is burn, baby, burn. Now, the success of last mission left me with wanting to bring 2 or 3 Kerbins here, but in the long run, I decided that that very unorthodox ship I had the last time, which was really set up mainly as a rescue ship, was not going to be something I wanted to use for a mission like this. In this mission, I just wanted to send Bob by himself, so we're using a hybrid of the first ship and the second ship. So we've got the extra fuel to make it there and back. Probably way too much fuel. I could have probably made 3 or 4, maybe 5 landings on Minmus. But I ran out of time, like I said, and came back. So we're finally burning our way towards Minmus. A tiny little green dot in the sky that people wonder, what could it possibly be? Is it a moon? Is it a captured satellite? Or is it something different? I should say captured asteroid. Bob's gonna go try to find out. And he's gonna obtain some valuable science along the way. So here we go, and this time we nail it. Nailed it. Look at that. Perfect intercept, and I am just going to hit the afterburners. Burn all the way there. And I thought we'd have one of those moments that Scott Manley frequently stops and looks at, but it didn't happen for me. I thought we were going to have a solar eclipse, and we did not. Pretty nonetheless, so I did take a couple of screenshots. I do have MechJeb installed now, but I'm not using it for anything but displaying those windows that are there. Delta V, orbit info, and surface info. And here we go, coming into the gravity well, the influence of Minmus. We're going to plot our orbit now, our orbital burn, orbital insertion burn. I'm going to capture some science along the way and send back what we can. On this one we have solar panels. I added them. I added RCS. And I think I added 4 batteries. Something I did forget to put on here. We unlocked the thermal sensor on the last mission when we came back. And I forgot to put it on this ship. So what we're going with is pretty standard. We're going with whatever the MK1 eyeballs of Bob sees. The mysterious goo containers and the science lab, whatever they call that little thing. Science Junior, I think it's called. So I plot my intercept, and now I'm plotting my circularization. And hopefully this stuff all goes through rather quickly, because the landing was really cool. Minmus is far smaller than the moon, so gravity is even less. I mean, it takes so little power to stop this thing, to stop your ship from falling, that you could actually leave your ship in orbit, burn down in your suit to the planet, grab your, to Minmus, grab your surface samples, and use your jetpack to get back up to your ship if you wanted to. Of course, your ship would be long gone. Here I am trying to land on one of these ice fields. I believe they're ice fields. They look kind of cool, don't they? Little do we know, Minmus is made of green cheese, or kethane. I seem to think kethane, if you ever use the kethane mod, it always shows little green hexagons. Maybe that's what this is. Or maybe it was a giant interplanetary green screen for somebody. I don't know. Bob's going to try to figure it out, but he literally doesn't have an opportunity to spend too much time. Here I go with this little ballet of trying to get my ship onto the ice field. Because I don't want to land it on a slope up somewhere on these mountaintops. I'm taking as much science along the way as I can. And Bob does not look happy. Bob actually looks kind of miserable in there, does he not? Every time you look at Jebediah is just laughing, smiling, kind of like a clown, I guess. But you can't really annoy him. But Bob is so serious. He's looking at it going, I've got to push this button, pull this lever, turn this knob. Oh, what about this joystick? I got to do something with this too. He's looking out the window, going, oh wow, look at all that green stuff. I wonder if I could eat any of it. Look at him looking around his cockpit, going, oh no, oh no, I just sense something's gonna go bad here. I just know it. But in the long run, nothing does go bad. Right, Bob? Well, at least not yet, that is. Am I foreshadowing? You'll have to watch to the end. So Bob is getting ready to put this thing down on the ground, little by little, and now we are in real time. We are not accelerating it at all. And as you could see, we're down around 30, 31 meters per second. Any thrust at all is going to stop all downward momentum and just launch us back up again. So you kind of have this little ballet of falling a little, giving a little bit of thrust, falling a little, giving a little bit of thrust. And that's what I've done to land here. I can't tell you that's the perfect way to do it. It's the way I did it. Min-miss is probably the easiest landing that you're going to get because it's the closest to Kerbin, and it's also got the lowest gravity of the 2 moons. So here we go. Getting closer, of course. And see what I mean? We actually stopped our downward momentum in that one. And we are falling again at a wonderful 4 or 5 meters per second. 3, 4, 3, 2, and we touch down. And Bob becomes the first Kerbin on Min-miss. Or at least we think so. Maybe Min-miss is made up of the essence of all the past Kerbins. Maybe this is where their essence goes when they pass on. Kind of like how in Avatar, when they died, they got sucked into the tree. I don't know. So the crew cabin is on the dark, in the shadow. And I could have probably used the RCS to spin this thing around, as I will when I go to take off, but I decide not to. I'm just going to get him out of here. And for a second I forget that I have to click on the portrait. Too many games playing these days. I keep losing losing what I need to do. Oh, I know what's going on now. I had put the thermal sensor on at one point, but then took it off when I redesigned the ship to look more like this. So Bob is sending back his observations, and now he's going to jump out. Come on out, Bob. Come on, Bob. As you can see, I've got like 8, I believe it is, 1 on each side of the fuel tanks. 8 of those little solar panels. Come on, jump. There he goes. Now, you could really thrust away from Min-miss easily if you were to just open up the thrust and go. But we're not going to do that. We're going to settle down onto the ground really light. And there he is. Bob has landed. And look at how Bob runs here. He could jump really high. And it's kind of scary. I don't think Bob likes being alone up here. Let's see. He's going to land himself, and he's got 3 tasks. Observe what he sees. Take a surface sample. And plant a flag. So here he goes. He's going to observe what he sees. He's going to take a surface sample, just like I told him. And there he goes. Plants his flag. And what are we calling this one? I forget. It's like green cheese C or something like that. Green cheese C. Okay. And he says something funny. I made it and the other 2 didn't. Uh-huh. Of course you have to spell green cheese right. I made it and Jeb didn't. So... oh, he said, I've made it and I have fuel to get back. Yay! So, Bob's very happy. he's made his little run. He's gonna jump for joy and turn on his light and start looking for that sensor that I thought I put on here. Obviously I did not. You can see my 4 batteries on the bottom. Very basic spaceship design here. Nothing really spectacular. It's very vanilla if you ask me. And of course the lander engine. Oh, he's underneath. Come on, you can't jump up that high. And look at this, just from jumping, you could put yourself into orbit around this rock. And he's gonna come down again. And oop! What is a landing on a moon without a faceplant? And there he goes. Bob's ballet ends with a fall to the ground. And he shall overcome and get back up on his feet again, or get back up in the air again, or the lack of air, that is, and find a way back onto the ship after he looks around it just one more time. Nope. I'm sorry, but your designer must have been out having a beer when that thermal sensor had to be installed. It's just not there, young man. Get back on that ship and get home. So I guess Bob didn't want to listen to me. He kept looking and winds up face planting yet again. Bang! He just was on a mission. He was like, I know that I saw it there, but it's not there now. And here he goes. Now he just falls on his back. So Bob's going to be done having fun on Minmus, and he's going to go back up right now and get back in the ship. And there he goes. He grabs on and gets in. And now starts the dance of setting up the orbital burn. But before we do that, we are going to spin the aircraft on its yaw axis with a little help from the RCS system. Why, you ask? Well, just because I want to make sure that this thing is pointed in the right direction. So I am going to spin it so 90 degrees is a right turn when I take off, which shouldn't be more than a couple more seconds of spinning. And then the rest of the video goes back into 2 or 4x. So we do not have a countdown. We just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we should see something happen any second now. And we are off. Bob Kerman spent 5 minutes on Minmus, picked up his rocks, planted his flag, took his observations, and now he's on his way back home to Kerbin, where he'll be able to bring home some valuable science that will be needed to build rockets in the future. A very successful mission if he can make it in one piece. And of course, we will find out if that's the case. Right after we figure out that I didn't realize I already had my intercept, and I keep playing with this like an idiot. Just shouldn't have. So here I go, trying to find the best way to set this baby down on Kerbin. It's amazing how much trust Bob has in the people that actually tell him what to do. And here we go into this wild return to Kerbin orbit. We're going to keep some science there. I should have sent that back. That was worth full points whether I took it back or sent it back. So here we go, falling back into Kerbin. This should not be any issue whatsoever, though. Alright, so here we go. And I think we're playing with a little bit of the direction of where we need to go. I burnt a little bit in the whichever direction I needed to. And there we are. Now I make one big mistake here. I didn't decouple. On the way in, one parachute breaks. You'll see that happen just in the next few moments. So Bob is flying his way back to Kerbin. We should be on time acceleration right now, coming into the planet. There we go. And the planet is getting bigger and bluer in front of us. And I try to slow down here because I don't want another incident like the last one where I could have splattered Bill and Jebediah all over the inside of their capsule. Oh, isn't that pretty? Well, kind of in some places, but at the top it looks kind of spindly. It's the City Lights and Clouds mod is pretty decent, except at the poles. We're coming in. I really thought I was going to get a landing, but again, it's an ocean landing. So we're coming in for a very shallow descent, which is much better than the steep one that we had before. This one, we don't come in nearly as fast, so we heat up, and that's about it. And if you look at the G meter, it never gets into the danger zone. See the G meter over there in the nav ball to the right? It gets about halfway up, but never really into the red zone. And it's going to start falling off around now, little by little. I'm taking some screenshots at the same time. I want to make sure everybody can see Bob's wonderfully successful mission until we get right about here. This is where things start to go wrong. I hit the decoupler and forgot to decouple this next stage, and when this didn't disappear, I kind of didn't look to the left and realize that those were, I still had a decoupler between the science. I put the decoupler in the wrong place. It was between the science bay and the capsule, which was bad. It meant I would lose the science bay. So I'm coming down and I'm going to try to take this extra weight, which is mostly fuel, and stop it. But what happened is I accidentally cut one of my chutes. Or one of them broke already. I think that's what happened. So I'm going to try to burn to lessen the impact on the ground. Or I should say in the water. There I go. Because I have valuable science I don't want to lose on this. I need my mysterious goo containers. I definitely need my science bay. A science bay junior. And little by little we float majestically to the sea below. And what's going to happen in just 111 meters? Falling, falling, falling. And we re-enter perfectly and land how? Beautiful landing. Up. Parts of rocket everywhere, and the science bay is gone. I've got both goo containers, as you see. There is the decoupler that was in between the actual capsule and the science bay. There was something just underneath it that I couldn't manage to see what it was. And we're stuck with just a couple of hundred science over here. And then we're going to go to here and we're going to look at our debris field. And we're going to try to get some more here. And some things are going to have science and some things aren't. There was just about 40 or 50 science there. And there was a couple here. And I think that was it. I was hoping one of these would be the science bay. That it was that other item that was kind of floating. I thought it was at first, but it wasn't. So because Bob didn't pre-flight and check out where the coupler was, he lost some valuable science that was gained. About 125, I think. And now we're going to have to send somebody else. And for the time being, Bob, Jebediah, and Bill are going to be grounded to find out what happened here. The ground crew being Jebediah and Bill, and the flight crew being Bob, are all going to be under investigation to see if this was sabotage. All that's left to do now is to pick some valuable science, and I guess I'll close out this rung. And this mission was about 80% successful. I didn't land in many biomes because I ran out of time. I actually had to do some work-related tasks. And the failure of putting the coupler in the right place lost me valuable science through my Science Bay Junior. That's it for today. Hopefully next time we'll try another landing on Minmus. Until then, you all have a great week.